All right, guys, so this is gonna be the third pattern that I'm gonna show you. You will be getting an assignment, and I am repeating this, but because I need everybody to understand that for this week, you guys are going to be uploading for me the patterns that were the changing and Punzel and Exorus. This new one that I'm gonna teach you today is gonna have a new name. So this one is called Betweed. And remember, it's Zentangle. So that's Zentangle, but this is the actual process of all of them together, okay? This one that I'm gonna be showing you is called Betweed. Now, as you guys are putting these together for me, when you guys take the pictures to upload for the test grade, make sure that you also take the full photograph of the entire thing with all 4 boxes in one frame. So for each of those assignments, you're gonna be uploading a total of 2 pictures. Remember that when we were doing the semester exam grade and I was talking to you guys about the portfolio, to edit your pictures. So when you take the photograph of your work, you guys need to crop to where it's only showing the 8 by 10 paper, okay? It shouldn't necessarily be the background. Like I shouldn't see any of this. If I was taking a photograph of my work, I shouldn't see the table or that sort of thing. So crop your photos before you send them. And I would already, just to make it easier for yourself at the end of the semester, title them correctly. So instead of, you know how you can rename your pictures? Instead of being the number that you took it, because it usually takes it by the order of the photograph that you took on your phone, I would rename it to Zentangle Betweed, so that way you know what you're uploading later, okay? So at this time, it's gonna be the same. You're gonna create your 4 boxes. Remember that I draw usually one, and it's about 3 inches or so, 3 by 3 inches. I usually leave this for my steps, so I leave that alone, and then I'll do another one down here on the bottom. And I can for sure fit a 3rd one. And I'm just drawing it underneath that. You can see down here. So I'm drawing a 3rd one. And then I'll draw a 4th one. You only need 4 boxes. If you want to do another one because you're not getting it, you feel, no, I'd rather, I have the space, let me practice again. And you do another one, well, that's on you. But for the test grade, I only need the 4, okay? So this is where I'm going to write the steps. So I'm going to go ahead and get that ready. And then I'm going to start with, of course, step 1. So on the first step, guys, and I'm not getting too close just yet because I'm going to explain a couple of things first on the steps. And then I'll zoom in so you can get you can see a little bit better when I start doing the actual pattern in the inside. Okay, so step 1 is actually going to be very similar to the one we did with Exorus, where we're going to do, and I can go ahead and write here. So I'm going to put for the first step, draw, and I'm going to draw the actual thing, what it looks like, because you guys should remember we did that little star shape that went like this, and we can put pattern. Now, what I mean by that little shape, on this one, it's the same thing. However, you can do straight. However, it usually works better when you curve the lines. Remember, you guys had like we were using kind of like a straight edge and so forth. And notice I'm not even going to the corner, and that's okay. So on this one, I'm actually going to go this way, and I'm going to bring it up here. And this one here, I'm going to actually turn in this direction. So these, you kind of want to curve the lines just to create more interest. Can they be straight? Yes. You can choose to do them straight. It is your, it's your opinion on what looks better. So if you want to try curved on one, straight on the other, and so forth, you guys can go ahead and try something like that and see if it works for you and which one works better, okay? But that's the first step. So the first step is the same kind of Exorus. So draw that little star pattern, okay? Now step 2 is going to be to draw pattern that falls in between. And what I mean by that, and I'm gonna actually draw, so don't get confused on this because I want you to look at it how I'm gonna do it here. But the way I'm gonna do it, just so I remember, I'm just gonna go like this. And I know it looks kind of confusing right now, but when I put it over here, it'll make sense. And then you'll be like, oh, okay, I can see why she drew it like that, okay? And you kind of see that I just went back and forth, almost like a little braided effect, okay? So now is the time that I'm actually gonna zoom in so you can see what I'm doing and you can actually follow along. I'm gonna scoot this over. Okay, let me try to refocus just to be safe. Okay, so now we're gonna look at it section by section. On the very, very final, like the one that you guys are gonna do for me for the final design, can I choose to do this one, skip it, this one, skip it, this one? Yes, because you guys can do variations of these on your final, and it's still gonna count as using this particular method that I'm gonna show you, okay? But I'm gonna show you with it in every single one. So you can see the effect that you're supposed to get when you do this particular pattern. So at this time, what I'm gonna end up doing is I'm gonna look at my point. I'm only looking at this section right here, guys, okay? So I'm not looking at any of these yet. I'm only in this spot. Kind of like what we did with the Ixoris, you know, like once we had the S shapes and all that stuff. So at this time, what I'm gonna end up doing is I have my point. I'm gonna go down slightly a little bit on my right, at least the right that I'm looking at, okay? And then I'm going to bring it down kind of like a little, almost like a little, it looks like a little V shape right here. Okay, so I'm just gonna bring it down and bring it down to the side. Now, because I went down in this direction, now I'm gonna go down in the opposite direction. And what I'm gonna end up doing is I'm going to take it and I'm gonna create, I'm just gonna come down. I curved it in this direction because this line curves in this direction. And I find it a little bit easier to go the same curve that this one is. That's why when this one curves here, I curved it here. So if this one were to, if I would have gone this way and I would have curved the original line like this, then I probably would have taken it with the opposite curve. But because mine curves in this direction, this is why I curved it this way, okay? So I went down here and then I went in the opposite direction. Now I'm going to go in the opposite direction again, the same way that I did this way. And I am going to bring it down so I get that little, again, this little V shape over here at the end. And I'm just gonna continue the same way. Don't get lost, because I had kids where they went like this and then they came over here and they were doing it. You gotta go in the opposite direction. So if I took my V shape this way, that means I'm taking my V shape over here so I can get this little V shape here, okay? So I'm just gonna continue doing that all the way down to the bottom. If I go in this direction, then I go in this direction, then I go in this direction, and I'm just getting this little braided effect. If you don't get the actual V that's like this, notice how they're starting to change a little bit. It's okay as long as you stick with the pattern, okay? That's the most important part. And you also will notice that it kind of gives you almost like, I always compare them to like when people do braids with like the palm fronds, when they go like that with, if you ever on like Palm Sunday, or even like people who make straw hats and things like that, when they're braiding, this is just what I can compare it to if I had to look at a pattern. So if you ever need to draw something like that, like if it's a basket weave or something like that, these are very helpful to know these patterns for that kind of texture that you might be trying to draw later, okay, in other classes. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna turn my paper and I'm gonna do the same exact thing that I did here over here. Now here's the only thing you have to write over here on your notes, because this is the most important part. So I'm gonna put 3 and I'm gonna put continue pattern on, and I know my handwriting is bad, guys, so just kind of like write it out, like my letters kind of combine all together, okay? So continue pattern on next section. And then the other thing that you're gonna write, because this is the most important part, okay? If you are gonna do that, like if I'm skipping, then it doesn't matter. But if I'm gonna do it for every section, you need to make sure that you put the in little, and I would put them in little little parentheses here, and I'm gonna put connect, and I'm gonna put left side. I put left side just because I'm moving to the right. So if that makes sense to you guys, like if you move to the right, you have to connect on the left. If you move to the left, you got to connect on the right. And so it's going to make sense once you see me do this first one, okay? Now I'm moving, like I said, to this direction. So when I do my pattern, I need to make sure that here it doesn't matter, but over here it does. I'm not connecting to this one. I'm connecting to the second one right away. So I got to come down here and I need this one to connect. On this side, it doesn't matter because there's nothing over here. So I can just take this and just make that little shape. Now notice that I curved my line in this direction because now my line curves in this direction. So this is why you might have to change it just depending on what you did originally for these lines, okay? So on this one, so connect to left side, and if you want to write yourself a note, put second, how would you title that? I guess second line. And what I mean by second line is that it's not this first line that you're connecting to, it's the second one. So you count 1, 2, and that's where the actual pattern starts. So now on this one, it's the same thing. Just come and connect to whatever falls next. I accidentally marked it there, so let me erase it. And then I come over here and I'm just going to do the same thing that I did on the first one. The only thing is I have to make sure that this side connects. Wherever that line goes, it connects there, okay? Same thing for here. Comes this way. Now here, you don't really see it too much, so it's okay after this point where you don't see them anymore, just take them all the way down like that, okay? And then I'm just gonna continue it. So that's what's continue. So continue on every single one doing the same thing. Now on these larger spaces, you might have to kind of play with them a little bit. Remember, we're not connecting to the first one, we're connecting to the second one. So I'm gonna bring it here and I'm gonna connect here. And I'm, like I said, as I go down on these larger spaces, they tend to get a little bit more difficult because of the little spacing that I have here, but that's okay. As long as I just kind of manipulate it, even if the lines come out just a little bit different, it's all right. And that's usually the reason why I have some people where they opt to not do every single one. They'd rather do every other one. So they'll do it here, they'll do it here, they'll do it here, and then they'll do a whole different other pattern in the other 3 that fall in between, or they'll make them solid, like they do it solid black, and then they kind of do their transitions and all that on these. And that usually looks really nice too. I've had students who do that and it comes out really good. Okay, the pattern at the final. So now what I'm going to do here is just continue. So I'm just going to continue doing this all the way around. And I'm going to bring this, attach. Remember, it's the second one. So you notice I didn't attach it to the first one. I attached it to the second one. Came down, attached it to the next one that follows. This one, you kind of see it. So I can take it all the way right here. And then I see a little bit right here. Now, the only one you have to be very careful with is the last one. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to just do this because now that I'm on the last one, what's going to happen with the pattern? Does anybody know just by looking at it? What am I going to have to look out for? Anybody want to take a guess? So I know I have to start right here, and I know I'm not going to the first one, I'm going to the second one. But now once I put my first one, what do you think I'm going to do? Nobody want to take a guess on this one? Okay, so basically what it is that you're going to have to watch it from both sides. So if I did this and I connected over here to the second one, this one's actually going to connect to the first one. So I'm just going to come here and I'm going to connect it right here on this side. And then from every single side now, I have to make sure that it connects to one of the lines. So this one connects here. This one connects here. So the last one is the only one that you're going to have to make sure that you're careful from both areas, not just one. Okay. And then it comes here. Here, and I still see some right here, and I can probably see just a tiny one right there. So in the middle, now you can see that it kind of creates this little star looking effect, okay? So on step 4, all I'm gonna do is on last section, be careful from both sides. And then step 5 is going to be transition. Now, when you're doing the transition, guys, I'm going to show you some examples of what you can do and how far you can take it as far as to get some effects. So looking at it right off the bat, the most thing that people tend to do is they want to go from dark to light on every single line. And that will make it look actually kind of like that braided effect that I was talking about. So if I go dark to light this way, trying to get all my grays. So I'm just gonna try to push it a little bit, dark to light, so I can get the gray over here. And then I go dark to light on this line going downward. I can automatically start getting the effect that it is braided. Remember, circular motion. I know it looks like I'm going straight, but I'm doing long ovals. And then the same thing right here, dark to light this way. You know, and this is just the practice. And like I said, you guys shouldn't even, honestly, you shouldn't be shading this first one, but just watch as I do it. And I would continue with the other ones, like start doing the other ones first to see which one comes out better. So that way you shade the nicer looking one. You might, on this next one, decide not to do it like this. You might decide to do this and then something different for this one. Do this one with this one, do something different for this one, and so forth. So you might like the way that looks better and say, no, I want to shade this one because this is something I'll do for my final, okay? So as I'm working on these guys, like I said, as I'm doing the shading, just pay attention, but you should be doing your outline for the other ones first, just so that way, like I said, you choose the one that comes out better, okay? And then I'm just going to continue with the shading so you see how to properly do it, but basically this is usually what people will do. They'll go dark to light and then dark to light on every single one of these, and like it's going to create kind of like a braided effect. Some people ask me like, ma'am, how do I draw braids like if I'm going to do hair? And usually you start off with the pattern first with something like that, and then I show them that you put the hair pattern on top of that, and then it'll come out good. It'll look like a braid. So this is why we show you guys this stuff in Art 1, because this will help you later in like your drawing classes and so forth if you do have to use patterns like this. I'm just going to go dark to light on every single one. And you guys do it nicer. I'm just doing it quick just to kind of show you which way and which directions. But you guys, when you do yours, take your time so it comes out nice. And you get good practice. So once I do that, of course, I would move on to the next one and do the same thing for all of them. And if I do that, like I said, I'll create that little braided effect all the way around. And sometimes when kids have done it really good, usually what it tends to look like when they do this all the way around like this, it'll look like an umbrella that's made out of like palm, like if they kind of like braided the palm leaves and so forth to make an umbrella. So they've gotten some pretty cool effects out of this, but there is one other thing that you can do other than just shade it like this, but I do need to do at least 2 sections first in order to show you your other option of shading, okay? So I'll just quickly do, I'm not doing it great. You guys slow down and do it nicer. You guys know how to do the dark to light, so just make sure that you take your time and try to get all the grays in there. And as smooth as you can do it. With circular motion. And get all those grays so that way it has a movement of dark to light. I think I found it easier in the past. Like if I just stick to the same direction, I don't move my pencil so much. And I just go dark to light like this first, and then I come back and I'll do the other side. It's less movement of the pencil. So once you complete all of that, and of course take your time, because like, look, my shading's not that great. If I go back and I smooth out some of these, you don't want it to look like a line, or you want it to go from dark to light as smooth as possible. Now, once I'm finished with all of this, the other area that I can also shade are these lines, and I can go from either, I've had people do it different ways. They go dark to light, dark to light, dark to light, and they go like that all the way around. And then what I like, at least what I've seen in the past, is that they do it from both sides. And this is where it'll have that illusion. I think it kind of looks a little bit like I said, like the umbrella effect, where it looks like it's going like this, like it comes up because I have the shadow on both sides. And so it kind of looks like a little umbrella that is made from palm leaves that's just braided. So I'll go dark to light from this direction too. And I have my highlight, like I said, right here in the center. And, you know, the more that you add the shading, guys, the different effects that you're going to give this. So this is why we teach you guys transition very, very early on, even though you're like, I'm not a professional artist. Like, I can't do this. I don't know about drawing. But if you learn how to shade, you can give some really cool effects to things that are a little bit more flat. Like, you know, like I was telling some of the kids, if you can learn how to do shading like this, and then let's say you want to draw a stick man, but you do it with a shape, like a circle, like you turn it into a sphere. And then the same thing with like, let's say instead of just a line for the body, you do an actual like cylinder, and then you shade the cylinder correctly, and you can make that little stick man look super 3D, you know, like if it's coming out of your paper. So this is why we show you guys transitions first. You know, that's why I start you guys off with the organic shape project, because you're learning how to do transitions. And if you have good control over shading, like doing the dark to light, the transitional work, then automatically you guys are going to have better control over skill level for drawing just in general. Later, once we start showing you some of the realistic stuff, okay? So that's pretty much it as far as the effects. I mean, can you go more into it? Yes. Like if I show you mine over here, let me show you where I did it on mine. So originally when I did the Ixorus here, what I ended up doing down here, this was one of my patterns, but I changed it. And look at how more complicated I made it. So I did the same pattern. You can kind of see that I went back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. But I took it to the extent where I was like, let me add an extra pattern. So I added like a little one right here. I said, wait a minute, if this one has an open space, then I'm going to see the one that comes underneath, and then I can see the one that falls underneath here and fall under here. And then I'm going to have to create little shadows. This one looks like it's further in the back, so I got to do it a lot darker. And that's where the illusion comes into play, because I'm doing the transitions and I'm shading little shadows and making it look like it's in the back. So you can make it look super complicated like this. You know, if you can make it as complicated as you want. Those of you guys that already have some kind of skill already in drawing, challenge yourself, make it more complicated like this. So that way you really, really start learning right now how to further your skill level, okay? If you're not there yet, it's okay. You can keep it more simple like this and just go back and forth, and just do the traditional shading that you see here. Of course, nicer. Like I said, mine looks very scratchy. If I were to go back on this and I were to really slow down and use the side of my pencil and pick it up slowly and do it the correct way, which is what you should, then, you know, do it. But for those students that are, you know, like I know this is just a practice. So if you do that, it might take you longer, right? So let's just say you don't shade the whole thing. You only have like 2 or 3 shaded, but they're shaded really, really nice. I'm still going to give you 100 for that, because you guys are doing proper shading. If somebody submits it completed, like 100%, but the literal shading looks like this, where it's just like that, then it's not going to be a good grade. Okay, I would give the person that took the time and did it right on maybe 2 or 3, versus someone who just did it however, just to get it done. All right, guys. So in saying that, like I said, this is going to be the 3rd one. You guys should continue, because you have to do the 4 boxes. And just a reminder, I want to see if anybody can answer this question for me really quick, even if you just want to type it in the chat. I just want to know you guys understand this. For the 4 boxes, you guys are doing shading for all 4? Yes or no? Anybody want to answer? You can type it in the chat. Like I said, I just want to know that you guys actually know what you're doing. So are you guys going to be shading all 4 boxes? No. Very good, Haley. So you guys are doing the outline. What this looks like right here, you're doing the outline for all 4. Then you pick your favorite one. And if you played with one, let's say you did this, you did the same thing here, you did the same thing here, and on your last one, you did what I said, where you just did one pattern here, you skipped it. One pattern here, you skipped it. One pattern here, you skipped it. And then you shaded, but you did something different. Like maybe you wanted to try doing leaves or something different in this one. And you like that one the best, and that's the one you're gonna shade, do it, because then you're already kind of figuring out what you're gonna do for the final design, okay? So these are times that you guys should be playing around with the patterns. Do something with the lines. It doesn't have to go like this. Like, let's just say on this one, and I'll show you a quick example in case you guys really wanna play with it. And let's say I wanna do it on here, just because for me, I like the spacing here. Maybe you wanna do something where it does something like this, like, oh no, I want to change my design. I want to have like the lines do this kind of shape, but I do the same thing for every single one, and it kind of does this. And you're getting the same idea that it's that little braided pattern, but you're changing the shape. Or maybe this one I want to do like zigzags. So I want to do zigzags coming down. And then this one I want to do zigzags over here. Let me do that, you know, so this is, like I said, excuse me. This is, like I said, the time that you guys need to play, okay? Any questions?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so go ahead and continue, guys. I'm gonna stop the recording right there. So let me stop it. Like I said, tomorrow, because I'm gonna see the class that I do need to make sure that I get their test grades, I am gonna have uploaded already for them to work. So if I'm more than likely gonna copy and paste for you guys. So if you already see the test grade for you guys to be able to upload tomorrow, then go ahead and upload them. But it's only gonna be for changing in Punzel, which is the one that I showed you first. And the other one was Ixoras. So those are the two patterns that you're gonna have to upload to me for the test grade. Okay, not this one. This one's not due yet. I'm not gonna take this one until next week for the test grade. All right. So are there any questions at all?
No, man.
No questions? Okay. So if there's no questions, you guys are free to go at this time. If you need to take a picture of this just so you can see it as you work because you need to finish, go for it. I will be uploading the video for you guys later today. So just take a look out for that in case you need to see the explanation again. Okay, guys? So if you guys have no questions, you can pop off already. It's not going to count against you.